Good evening, beautiful people. Good morning, good time of day, good whenever it is for you. I have back to my knitting shenanigans. Feel like we can't only be repairing things, we also like to be making things. So that is my excuse and I'm sticking to it. I was having a conversation with another YouTuber crafting in the crafting space about how it's so nice to have these long-term easy projects after a long day when we're tired, and yeah, in theory it would be nice to film them, but at the same time, if we had to film them, I don't think I would have the spoons to do them in the first place, because they are kind of my go-to projects for when I don't have the spoons to do anything else and I just want to do something simple. Much as it would be amazing to have the footage and being able to edit it into something later, I always want to have the footage afterwards, but it is what it is. Anyway, how are you doing? How are you faring in this month of June? We are nearing the end of June already, which means we are almost halfway through the year in a little over a week. That is cliche, but I feel like time is going faster every year and I'm never ready for it to move as fast as it is. Have you gotten some of the things that you wanted to do this year done? Are you making progress on being nice to yourself, knowing that the plans we have and what we actually are able to do in a year are often very different? Although I do like the saying, and I've found it to be true myself, that we deeply overestimate what we are able to do in a year, but at the same time we massively underestimate what we are able to do in 5 years. So the discrepancy there is very fascinating to me, because I do exactly the same thing myself. Is that something that you've found in your experiences with life and studies and work and friendships and crafting things that you want to do? Because I have found that to be certainly be the case whenever I try to make project plans for the year and I don't even manage to do a fraction of the things that I want to do, and yet progress has been made. That's the interesting thing, isn't it? Progress is still being made, even if sometimes we are just disappointed in ourselves for not doing the thing straight away, but progress is good. Progress is still progress. And I've gotten better at really believing in that over the years. It's harder when you want to do all the things, isn't it? And all the materials are kind of staring at you, ready to be used. Anyway, are we making anything exciting, anything nice or summerly or ready for autumny? Or, I mean, these big projects take so long that I'm feeling like this might be done in winter, so it'll be cool again by then. Erin says I'm time blind, so I can't even estimate how much I can get done in minutes, much less a year. That is that is also a problem. Yeah, time blindness can be very challenging in both directions. Like, both of you get stuck having so much fun with a task that you forget time and place and food and sleep, but also with estimation. So yeah, I can see that being really challenging. Taking a break in the last stretch of move packing. Oh, that sounds exhausting, Lynn. That is absolutely... It's one of those things where you look forward to being done, but you dread getting started, isn't it? But at least that's how I found it, having moved so many times over the years, that whenever it happens again, I dread it. And at the same time, I look forward to it having had happened, having finished the move and being in whatever the new place and the new chapter is going to be. So absolutely support taking a break and giving yourself a breather, because having to move in a very short time frame, like in a day or a weekend or something like that, is so exhausting. I don't think I could do that anymore like I could when I was a student. Granted, I had much less stuff then, but still, I just don't have that kind of explosive energy anymore. And I also know that people don't like doing wool things in summer because it's so warm, but we've been having a relatively chilly summer so far, knock on wood, in Norway, that I am still able to enjoy my wool crafts. Catpaw says, Merry Solstice Crafters, I just finished hanging the laundry, let's hope no more rain for a few hours. We're in the middle of a tropical depression, so it's 97% humidity, rain and flooding. Oh wow, that sounds like certainly very interesting weather to be drying laundry in, Catpaw. Does it make much progression at all? I guess the sun still does a lot of work, but that is very high humidity indeed. I hope you are taking very good care of yourself. Wow, I didn't even realize it's solstice already. Yeah, same, Lynn. I always think it's the 23rd, because that is when there is a Norwegian celebration of it, but it isn't technically the right date. So I guess happy solstice, everyone. It's only gonna get darker from here, at least in the northern hemisphere. I do like the changing seasons, though. It is, having grown up in a seasonal country that has all 4 seasons and then some, you know, probably sometimes all 4 seasons in one day. I really enjoy seasons so much that when we lived in London for a few years, a spouse was finishing their undergrad, I got really weirdly seasonally confused because I was waiting for winter and all I got was 2 days of slush, and then spring arrived and I was very... Where is summer? Hello, madam. You can join us. Yes, but I used a dehumidifier indoors later. That sounds like a good idea. I don't think I've experienced 100% humidity, but I hear it can be a bit rough. Madam, mind your backside. You think you deserve snacks? I suppose we can have a few snacks. Since you are a very cute kitty, so long as you don't eat my stitch markers. Yeah, I know what you want. Madam, exceptionally food motivated. There you go. Good kitty. That's it. That's all you get. It has been the coolest spring in over a decade. It's been such a relief. Oh, interesting, Lynn. We had a really, really hot May, so it went from winter to summer in the blink of an eye, but then after, I think, 3 weeks of really hot sun and no clouds, no rain. It flipped again, and now we've been having since then really shifting, you know, it'll be bright and sunny, and then it'll be a super heavy rain shower, and then it'll be bright and sunny again, and it'll flip back and forth like that throughout the day, sometimes really windy as well. And honestly, I've been really enjoying it because it's quite cool. The weather is quite cool, and you know, you can be outside and work in it, and the plants are getting all the moisture that they need to get growing, and the coolness is, you know, good for the animals, and everyone is being healthy and staying safe. So I prefer this weather, although a lot of people are complaining at the lack of sun. I do not really mind, to be honest with you. I much prefer this kind of weather. Erin says, I'm working on a pair of blankets for the twin baby girls my cousins are adopting. Oh, that's lovely. That sounds like a very lovely gift. Baby blankets are such a classic. It's very, very sweet. I hope that goes well for everyone. Well, if you want heat and rain, come here. Oh, Catpaw, that sounds challenging this time of year. We've had the hottest spring ever with so many heat records. I lost track. Oh no. That is really rough. I absolutely hope you and everyone around you are staying safe. That can be so rough. You're in Mexico, aren't you? Or was it Brazil? But yeah, it's so challenging when you get into the, and it isn't even, I feel like a lot of the time when we get all the heat records and all the heat waves and people are distressingly dying is in July and August, when it's really hitting hard, and it's already starting. So I hope everyone stays safe and take the heat seriously. We don't know how to deal with heat in Norway, to be honest with you. I know Australians are really skilled with sun hats and sun lotion and protective clothing, and Norwegians just run out and want to bask in the sun, but we could do with some sun sensibility as well. Mexico, yes. Thank you, Gatpa. Hello, Nao-san. I hope you're having a good time in Japan and having a good Thursday. I am trying to, as I often do two things at once by talking to you and also working on my project, which is not risky at all. There's no way we could mess this up. Are you just gonna sit there like a gargoyle? Are you snoozing, or are you staring at the snack drawer? I think Madam is trying to magic the snack drawer to open itself so that she can have another snack. And we are about to have some ads, so we will break for ads. If you are I never know how long the ads will run for, but they seem to be quite short. So if you are new here, whenever there are ads, I take a sip of whatever drink I have with me and we take a little bit of a break. So don't worry, you aren't missing anything, you aren't missing out on content. I pause for ads so that you don't lose out on content, and we just take a little break together. But yeah, weather is just extreme, and I hope everyone is staying safe. I don't know if this is a thing in other parts of the country as well, or in the world. I feel like this is a thing that, especially in the West, like the US, Canada, Europe, that people have sort of reached a point where they feel like technology should outperform weather, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is, such as in winter when the roads are quite slippery, or if there is a blizzard or something like that, a lot of people don't plan a lot of extra time in order to get to work. It seems like they feel like if the speed limit is 80 kilometers an hour, they should be able to Madam, the drawer is not for you. They should be able to keep driving 80 kilometers an hour even when it's quite slippery outside. And same when there is rain or like adverse weather events or being forecasted by the weather services. A lot of people, they just want to go out and just do their thing as normal and not really take the weather into account. And more in the last couple of years, weather is well and truly showing us that technology is in fact has not mastered weather events, and you should indeed still respect weather because it can still absolutely change people's lives and make a really big change to everything. Madam, I have doors on my cupboard for a reason. There are no snacks in the cupboard drawers. Why do you want to go in there? It was the first true spring in years, and our gardens are glorious here in southern New England, USA. Oh, that sounds lovely. I miss having... It's been a few years since I feel like we had a proper spring, because like this year it just went from winter to summer so fast that I almost didn't feel like we had a spring. We were just over super fast. So experiencing a bit of spring is very nice. Happy solstice, and it's my cat's birthday. Happy birthday, Citrine's cat. That is lovely. We love to see it. It will be Sit's 4th birthday soon as well. It should be in July. No, wait. Because we adopted her in August and then she was 12 weeks. So no, it should be in June. Has your birthday already been? Huh? I'm sorry. I'm bad with remembering birthdays, but they do get good food regularly, so I don't think they suffer. Are you done trying to break into my drawer in my cupboard? It's good to have these feline friends with us. But yeah, that is super fascinating to me. Of course, I don't want or like anyone to get hurt, but my experience is that weather is yet again showing us why she is respected and why we cannot just continue with 9 to 5 Monday to Friday regardless of the weather. And I do wish more employers would just be like, we are closing the city today, we are closing the shops because the weather forecast is so bad and so dangerous, you know, legitimately. Not like you'll do this regularly or every month or anything like that, but if there is a truly bad weather event forecasted, a truly bad blizzard or a thunderstorm or something like that, why not preemptively do things? We had a driving lesson with spouse, not this winter, but the winter before that, and there was this awful blizzard happening at the same time, that specific day, and it was super heavy snow, really, you know, gathering up on the car, and it regularly takes us an hour to get to that driving school, and it took us an hour and a half, and it was really slow going, it was really precarious, so slippery, but you know how if you cancel less than 24 hours before, they still get all the money, but if they cancel, they don't pay anything. So we parked the car, finally got there, took a, you know, breather because that was dangerous and we were both quite anxious, and drove very carefully and tried to really tried to stay safe on the roads and took it very slowly because you couldn't see anything. And then as soon as we parked the car, we got the text message that the driving school had decided to cancel the driving lessons for the rest of the day because of the weather. But they had wanted to start trying first instead of just canceling everything straight away and just looking at the weather forecast and going, this is no weather to be teaching people how to drive. So then we took a great big sigh and we got some food, and we like settled our nerves a bit. Then we drove all the way back, which was the thing. But yeah, after that they got a lot better about knowing that we had a pretty long drive to get to the driving school and cancelled things more in advance if necessary. Hello from the Netherlands. Hello Anya, welcome. I hope you are doing well. Are you crafting anything fun or interesting, or just relaxing with us and hanging out and having a good time, I hope? Lynn says, yeah, it's hard to blame people when being careful can cost them their job. Exactly. Why is that a thing? Why don't we just close the shops unless you live really close and you can get to work safely? And it's like we learned from the lockdowns which jobs are really essential, such as getting food to people, making sure they have food and they are fed and warmed and housed and have healthcare and access to important things. But a lot of jobs, maybe if there is a really bad, red alert event happening, just preemptively close things. People probably don't need new interior design or a new blanket or even new crafting tools or supplies on a really bad weather event. But you could say that experience gave you a lot of driving rep. Yeah, it gave my spouse a lot of driving rep or driving experience. Because my spouse was the one getting the license. I was the, responsible driver in the passenger seat, making sure that I probably should have taken over the wheel, but we were doing it very, very slowly, and they had been driving for a while at this time, so we felt it was safe for them to do their usual practice driving to the driving school, because they were really close to graduating anyway. But yeah, that was a thing. I remember my dad teaching me how to drive in snow and ice. It was very scary, but I'm very grateful for it. Yeah, exactly. There are the kind of skills that you really need to have a muscle memory for if you really need it. Similar to martial arts and other things teaching you how to fall. You can't learn how to fall if you're in the middle of something scary happening. It needs to have been something you have repeated so many times that your body just does it automatically. And same thing with driving on ice, that you just have to know and react instinctively and have the right instincts, and for that we need a lot of practice. Just relaxing and knitting socks for winter. That sounds very nice. I am, if you aren't familiar, I am working on a As You Like It shawl, same as the one that I made in black for the channel. I almost immediately started making another one in white after I finished that video, because it was a very enjoyable project, and when I finally wrote out the patterns and diagrams, it was already done, and then I too can just follow the recipe or the pattern and just make the thing. Although this time I am making it... Why am I nose itchy? Although this time I can just make it the way I was intending to make the first one, which is in the evening, after work, on lives with you guys, just hanging out, over... I intend to keep knitting this as my background project over maybe several months even. I'm not sure how long it will take me, how much time I will be able to devote to it. And that was what I was planning to do with the black one, but then we were going for a trip and I needed a project to bring with me, and that was the project that I chose. So I spent a week knitting on that while we were visiting somewhere else, and when I came back I didn't have any other projects to work on, so I just went, oh, but what if I marathon knit this for, I think it was at least 10-12 hours every day, and filming it and just see if I can get it done and then edit it for my next video, because I didn't know what else I was going to film and this was what my brain was into, so I just did that, and it was fine, it was fun, but I do prefer just doing a couple of hours here and there and actually getting some leisure out of it, and not just like, can we do this to a deadline? Can we get it done? Because being able to just sit back and knit something at our leisure is very, very nice. I want to start an As You Like It shawl soon to practice my lace. The charts are so lovely and helpful. I am glad you think so. I'm never quite sure how to draw lace knit diagrams because some people will draw the yarn overs in between the squares, but I find that I don't do that automatically. And there are so many different ways to draw it. So long as people are able to understand them, that is enough for me. That is very nice. And I hope you managed to make it, because I find it quite an enjoyable project, because by the time you are fed up with a particular lace pattern, you can just swap to a different one, and then you get the learning of a new one. I just realized once I've moved, I can finally get started on my crazy patchwork blanket. I have some urgent clothes to sew, but after that, oh yeah, I do love a good crazy patchwork project. I still have, some of you, very few of you I assume, may remember my first live stream project, which is this crazy patchwork embroidery project that you can tell that I haven't come any further than those first couple of lives. I have a couple of embroidery things done, but it is very much still undone, that I started working on. It's the same type of pouch. I had more fabric in the same size as I made a video of, and I just made another one because I think they are nice gifts. They are a bit quirky and whimsical and fun, but I did find that while I can knit while streaming, doing different embroidery stitches, I don't quite have the proficiency. I would, my stitches would change in size, and I would stick to maybe 2, maybe 3 different embroidery stitches instead of more than that, so it didn't get very varied. It was challenging, but maybe I will pick it up again for a live later to challenge myself and bring back the OG first thing we were working on when we first started this lives, and my nerves were about here. I will say we have come away since then. When was the first live? Was it in April? I can't quite remember, but it was very fun and a good ride, and I have been enjoying hanging out with you on occasion since then. I think we've managed almost a live a week, not all the time. Sometimes we are traveling, and that will happen in summer as well, but yeah, I'm finding this very enjoying. It's very different from the videos, which I've been struggling to edit lately, but we are doing our best. I have a very different one lined up that I am working on, and I'm hoping that I can get it to you as soon as I am able. It won't be this weekend. That's yeah, it's been a brain fog type of month, and it's been very hard to work, but I am hoping that we shall get back to it presently. And it's a good reminder to all of us that, our energy levels are going to fluctuate, and I try to remind myself of that. My spouse always complains that I am nowhere near as kind to myself as I try to be to others, which I think is something a lot of people can recognize. Why is it so much harder to be nice to ourselves instead of listening to the advice we tell other people about giving ourselves grace and time and patience and taking our meds and taking a nap and doing the things that we need? I'm not good at napping, personally. Sometimes I need to, because if I get a migraine, my meds don't really work, at least some of them. I have a couple different ones, but one of them doesn't really work unless I also go lie down for an hour, which is super frustrating when you're in the middle of a work day and you just want to get stuff done. I don't think I am alone in this, but I have this. Instead of taking my meds and taking a break from my workday and coming back to it in a better shape, I get this instinct of, oh, I'm starting to feel a bit of a brain fog. I need to work as hard as I can, as fast as I can, in order to get as much done as I am able to before the migraine knocks me out, which is an instinct that I developed before I went to my doctor, and we actually started developing a medication regime for my migraines so that I actually had something to treat them with. And I didn't have any medication for it, so I just had to manage without any form of medical intervention. So it's a bad habit that started from that, and now it is really, really hard to unlearn it, because I just want to finish the thing, you know? I just want to get this done so that I can feel like I have gotten something done today. I haven't been completely bested by my migraines, which is not a good way to look at your migraine, but it can be hard to be gracious of your chronic illness when it's stealing work days from you and you are frustrated because you just want to do the thing. You just described me and my migraines? Oh, Katpa, I'm sorry you're also getting migraines. My commiserations. It's super frustrating when you want to work and you want to work on the projects that you want to share with people, and it's just fighting you, and it's so frustrating. So I hope you are taking care of yourself as well. We are about to take a little ad break in a few seconds, so a little bit of a, oops, sorry for the noise, hydration break, and I think we shall go back to migraine talk. Because it is ever such a passion thing close to my heart, but then again, so is, I think there's a lot of transferable analogies and comments, you know, to all other chronic illnesses as well, and how we deal with not fighting our bodies, because that isn't a helpful way to think about it, I think, but managing our energy levels and managing our what we can and cannot work with and things like that. The worst, Lynn says, the worst feeling is a migraine coming and going, oh, I'll just go nap, instead of taking painkillers and then waking with the spike going through your brain. Oh no. Yeah, that is the worst. I'm still really bad about taking my meds. I will comment to my spouse, come down and go, oh, I need to take a break because I'm getting a migraine. And they'll be like, but you've taken your meds, right? And you sit there going, no. I don't know why, but even though I recognize the migraine, my instinct isn't to take my meds, because my brain gets all cloudy and foggy, and I forget that meds are a thing, and you'd think I would start to get better at it over time, but I just seem to still just not want to take my meds, which is not very helpful, and not something I want to encourage you to do, like take your meds. The Violet Maze says, hi all, we're talking about migraines. We are indeed. I've had chronic migraines for 6 years now. It's been a journey. I totally get the frustration. Yeah, same. I don't really know how long I've been having migraines, but I'm pretty sure it's been since, you know, puberty and starting to menstruate, which is very common for women. And that is, one of my hopes is that they will stop once I then hit menopause, because they are hormonally related. Fingers crossed. It doesn't happen to everyone, but I'm hoping desperately that will happen. But one of the reasons I don't really know is because I didn't identify them as migraines when I was younger. I thought I was just tired. My migraines aren't typically very painful unless they are very, very heavy. But they instead, I usually describe it as, it feels like my head is just stuffed tight with cotton wool, or like it's really hard to think. I get really sluggish and slow. My brain just grinds to a halt, and I can tell from the inside, and yet I can't really do anything about it, because again, my brain goes from usually running around in all different directions to just screeching to a halt. And I get this syrup that I'm trying to come through, and I just can't, and the more you're fighting it, of course, the worse it gets. But that was one of the reasons I didn't realize they were migraines, because they were always described as so painful to me, but I've since learned that some people do get migraines like I do, without, like, with the pain being sort of secondary. Like, it's bothersome, but the worst is the brain fog. that I get completely down for the count and my usually reliable brain just goes straight out the window, which is not very helpful. At least the ads serve as a hydration reminder. Indeed, I'm starting to use them as that as well, so you all should also be doing that. Make sure you get your water breaks and take care of them. Sounds like we're all a bunch of chronically ill migraine people, so you should definitely make sure to stay hydrated and fed and rested to give ourselves the best chance we have of having a good day. Even if we can't always get a good day, we can give ourselves a good chance without feeling guilty or blaming ourselves if that doesn't happen. Citron says, I feel like this, but with anxiety. I have this thought that if I just wait, it might get better, but in reality, that's why I have the meds. Exactly. That's exactly the thing we need to learn, right? Just take the meds. That's why the doctor has prescribed us meds. And I have an excellent doctor. She is so good. She's so skilled at her job. She's so knowledgeable. And, you know, it's one of those really good professionals who will tell you straight out, like, if they don't know something that you're asking them about, instead of just faffing, making up an answer, or, you know, telling you it's not important, they will just go, I don't know the answer to that, but let me check it out by the next time we talk, and I will have an answer for you, which is honestly the best kind of professional, because none of us can know everything all of the time. And I don't know if I've told you this story before, but I had the most hilarious thing. When we're talking about migraines anyway, thing happened the last time I went for, because I'd been on a new medication for 6 months, so we were doing a checkup, seeing how they were working. And I was coming in with my chart, with my migraine tracker. We have a little app that is developed along with the Migraine Neuroscience Research Center in Norway that does research on migraines. So you get data for your doctor, and they also get anonymized data for their studies, which is good for everyone with migraines, so we support that. And I was coming in with my charts and my annual, showing them the months and showing how much my migraines went down after we started this daily medication that they gave me, and I was super happy. I had so many more work days, everything was great, I was super happy. And my doc scrolled a bit through the months, looked a bit at my logs and my comments, and went, I'm gonna double your dose. And I was flabbergasted, because to me this was such a great improvement, and yet they, as a medical professional, just weren't satisfied with the level of decrease that I had achieved, and wanted us to up the medication more in the hopes of getting the attacks down even more, which is so alien to me. Like, it was already improved. How do you mean that you are expecting even more improvement? You want it to be even more amazing, but this is already great. This way of thinking was very new to me, that she wasn't happy with the improvement. She wanted more improvement. And she said she wouldn't be happy unless she managed to get me down to 2 to 3 attacks a month, which is insane to me. That is so little. That is so few. I didn't know that was realistic for someone with migraine. I felt like that was shooting for the moon. But she seems to think that might be possible, and we are trying out different things until we see how it goes. My migraine started with perimenopause in my 30s. Oh no, I hope you are taking really good care of yourself. It can be so frustrating when they come suddenly. Mine got worse really fast during the stress of my PhD, which should come as no surprise to anyone who has done a PhD, that it sort of came like a wrecking ball. They were already interfering with my life, but I didn't realize to what extent, and then the stress just sort of piled up, and it just sort of whacked me out. And then I really had to go to a doctor because I got concerned, because they got a lot worse very fast. I was concerned they would be getting a lot worse. But my doc did tell me that they're usually worse in your 30s and then peter out, which was reassuring, because it was getting bad. Catpal says, mine started in my tweens, but I wasn't diagnosed until mid-30s, and now I am in my 50s. Yeah, I also didn't go to the doctor until I was in my 30s because I didn't feel like, again, you self-gaslight, you don't think it's that big of a deal. You can sort of muddle through and collapse on the couch in the evening, and it's terribly underdiagnosed and terribly undermedicated for the same reason, because you just sort of muddle through, you know, you haven't broken a bone or done anything like that. It really puts into perspective what living without a disability or chronic illness would be like, huh? Yeah, you mean the 2 to 3 days? Like, that just shocked me when she said she wanted me to be under 2 to 3 attacks a month. I'm still speechless. I still think she might be a little bit over enthusiastic. I'm still not sure. Like, how? That's... Yeah, and then you think that there are some people who just don't have... They get tired, but maybe they don't get chronic attacks of various illnesses at all. How does that even work? When you don't have to suddenly adjust your day because you wake up and you feel sluggish and you're like, ooh, I think I need to adjust my plans and expectations for today because it feels like we are loading something. Dora says, I'm having a migraine right now. Oh no. It developed at the end of the workday. I went home to sleep with fever dreams. Just woke up to hopefully complete today somehow. Still got things to do. I hope you take it easy on yourself. I hope you are able to do that. It can be really frustrating. I used to have to do that, where I would go to work, and during the workday, because my office was super, super bright, I would develop a migraine, so inevitably every time when I got on my bike to go home, I would sort of be very bleary-eyed and couldn't really see where I was going, and then just sort of collapse on the couch, and my spouse would try to get some dinner in me and I would just want to sleep. And somehow I told myself that was normal, that was just trying to work as an autistic person, is I think the excuse that I told myself. Until at some point it just got so bad that I just... Yeah, I accepted needing to go to the doctor because I didn't really have any free time. And that can be challenging. So I hope if you are having a bad day that you are being nice to yourself, because it happens. Even if we try to mitigate our chronic illnesses, there are still going to be events. You'll never be completely free of them. So you shouldn't blame yourself if you get a bad day. Even if you've been trying to fuel your body nicely and sleeping and all of the things. They still happen, and there are still going to be stressful days. But an important thing that my doctor did tell me is that sometimes it's worth getting a migraine if you know something is going to trigger you, but it's an important event. It might be worth it. Like, you go to the event because it's important, and then you have a migraine and you get sick after. But we can't live our life avoiding everything. Some things are worth getting sick for, and that is something that I know doctors also thought. I have a friend with a daughter my age, and she has ME, you know, the chronic fatigue syndrome, isn't that what it's called in English? And they told her the same thing. You know, some things are absolutely going to knock you out for a week or more after, and even so, if they are important to you, they might be worth it, and it might be worth to take that hit afterwards, because you still need to have fun, try to do things that bring you joy, try to see people that are important to you. And again, this isn't about what society tells you should do. It's about things that give life and meaning and joy and glory and color to your life, whatever that means to you. Because so often we are so steeped in expectations, aren't we? But this isn't about that. This is trying to give yourself good things that makes you feel like you're having a good time, and don't just spend all day sick in bed. struggling. Although I know some people with very severe chronic fatigue syndrome can't choose, they have to stay in bed all the time, sometimes for years, and it can be very, very challenging. Very, very devastating condition to be stuck in for years on end. It would be, Erin says, it would be so nice to not have to live with chronic pain. I have scoliosis and I suspect I might have EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, so there are no pain-free days. Yeah, my sympathies. It can be hard when you're always in pain and always exhausted. And I think I did talk about this last time too, but before I really started working with the channel, which is what I'm trying to do now, because it's so much easier for me to accommodate my needs at home, where I can draw blinds and I can make it dark for myself when I'm having a bad day, and I can adjust my work tasks. I tried to interview for a position about environmental protection, because history and environmental protection is things we care about here. It was either going to be historical analytical chemistry or environmental analytical chemistry, and both would have been deeply engaging, but we ended up doing environmental analytical chemistry. And I went to the interview and we talked a bit, and they seemed to like me, but I had been called to interview for being someone with disability into the interview, and they wanted to know if like they talked about how they had a fast-paced environment and how I would deal with that, and I sort of got a bit confused, because they're sort of asking in a roundabout way if you can work more than full-time, if you're capable of working more than 100% of a position. And I remember thinking that even if they wrote in their ad that they are an inclusive workplace that encourages people with disabilities and people of color and marginalized people to apply, a lot of it is in many ways lip service, because when you are in chronic pain, so much of your energy is being sapped from getting exhausted from chronic pain. So to have an employer who then also expects you to work not only full-time but more than full-time, it's just not inclusive. It just isn't. I mean, I could probably handle a job in the field that I educated myself within, but most of them are expected to be 100% positions or more, because you're expected as a scientist to be so deeply passionate about your field. But I would be very happy with a couple of days, a handful of days less a week, and then spend the rest with rest and recuperation and crafts and making videos for you and things like that, because I don't need that much money to sustain myself. We know that consumption is very high and we could do with reducing it a bit, but I don't know. It's frustrating, isn't it? They say one thing, but then when it actually comes down to it, it's challenging. I once realized that sometimes we with disabilities sometimes think that if we're doing better than our worst, then we are doing really well, when there might be a lot more beyond kind of better. Yeah, I know, right? That's exactly what my doctor is talking about when actually trying to change my expectations of what a life could look like. But of course it really depends. Yeah, that's the thing. It really depends on where your normal is, what your expectations are. And having someone really shatter your expectation, or what your expectations should be, is really strange. The problem is sometimes the hit isn't temporary. It's always a risk, and it's harrowing to know when you're doing something you want that you might have long-term consequences. Yeah, when I got burnt out, a lot of the consequences to that were really have been really long-term, and a lot of those surprises have come as a surprise. It's been things that I didn't expect. Like before I got burnt out during my PhD, I would cry if it was a really sad moment in a movie, and I would cry on occasion, and like when it's natural to do so at funerals and in emotional parts of movies, and things like that. But during and after my burnout, I would cry at anything. And I still do. Like, I will watch mildly emotional TikToks or YouTube videos and I will be crying, and it's still so surprising to me because I never used to be the kind of person who would cry at anything. And now I do. And I do on live sometimes too. I will get emotional from just talking about minor things, and I feel like, you're being a crybaby or being over dramatic, and yet after the burnout, the tears just flow so easily. I just start crying really, really fast, and that has been it's a small thing, but it's one of the many things that sort of follow me after the burnout, that shows me with, so much proof that I am not back to where I was before the burnout and the migraines got worse. It is in many ways a chronic change that you have to learn to live with all over again, and not to overexert yourself, and to learn where the new normal is. Because once you've hit burnout once, I notice in myself that it is easier to reach that stage again, and I have to be more cautious with managing my energy. Like, I can't push myself as hard as I used to, because I will get into that risk zone and I'm more vulnerable to it afterwards. So if you are struggling with that and you're feeling guilty about that, you are not alone. We are seeing more and more research showing us that the effects of a burnout can be for the rest of your life, can be, changing you after. So for a lot of us, you won't be able to change until you hit burnout because you don't know where to turn. But if you can manage to slow down before you properly hit the wall, I strongly urge you to try, because the effects can be really devastating. Once you hit that point and you are burnt out and your brain is a slushy, it can have permanent effects for the rest of your life, and they can be quite challenging. I never had a migraine 1 or 2 times a year, a headache from stress or lack of sleep. I'm lucky that my doctor has that I see here is struggling trying to do her work. And explain? Not quite sure what you mean, Anya. I'm hoping you are doing all right. Oops. Come here, you Stitch. Afterwards, I somehow always know what had triggered the migraine, but in the moment I can't stop the way things go. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes, because light is such a big trigger for me, I'll think, yeah, but I'm just popping out for a moment. I don't need my sunglasses to just go out with the trash, right? And then it hits you. It's a really bright morning light and you're like, should have known. Always wear the sunglasses outside, friends. But yeah, it can be really frustrating when you're in the moment and you don't think about it, and then that hindsight hits you and you're like, of course I developed a migraine. It's no wonder that day went the way it did. And yet when we're just sitting there, it just kind of, we just want to ignore it in many ways. I know I want to not think about getting migraines and somehow think that ignoring it will help. But I don't know if I will learn and get better. I hope I will. But yeah, tracking has been really eye-opening, because that is something that we started before I started doing my meds, that the doctor started putting me on, is that I had to track and see how things were changing and moving, and that was part of how we're making sure that things work. And it has been really interesting to look at just how many migraines there are, how many times I am knocked out, and I put a big red circle if it's I lost a work day due to this, because that really frustrates me. I should be valuing my weekends and other days just as much as I value the work days, but it's always the work days that I'm most frustrated at having lost, because I want to do all of these things. I have all of these plans, and It's really devastating, especially when it happens several days in a row, which has been the last couple of weeks, where I just sit at my computer and I'm like, yeah, today we're going to do all of these things, and then an hour later you're knee deep in a migraine and you go, maybe not. But yeah, chronic illness is frustrating. And I'm trying to remember that some people don't have that and don't have to take that into account as much, and they just run around. Do they just run around living their life? But at the same time, whenever I talk to people, it is just more and more evident that there is no such thing as a normal person. I mean, the complete average of the human experience does not really exist, because whenever you talk to someone on a one-to-one personal level, they always have their struggles, they always have their frustrations and their joys and their griefs and their pain points in their lives, and there's always something people are concerned about or worried about, or that gives them joy, or ways they can relate to people being ill, and various things. I don't know, we've talked about this before, but that is why I really enjoy Terry Pratchett's books. Like, I just appreciate them more for every year, because there are no side characters in a way in Pratchett's books. They all have backstories, they all have rich personal lives, you can see where they're coming from, and even if they're written to make you think that they are simple, or that they are not quite as smart as other people, you still see where they're coming from and how their logic works and their reasoning and their thinking, and there are no, guard 1 and 2 that are just disposable and just die at the hands of the hero or the villain for the sake of the plot. They're all people. They're all humans. They're all individuals. They're all someone, and they all mean something to someone, and I really enjoy that. I'm getting more and more frustrated and, fed up with people who are just faceless caricatures or background characters who die to show some virtue or flaw of the main cast. I don't... It bothers me more and more, and you don't find that in Pratchett. Sometimes, you will have your main character, of course, because it's a story that's being told, but at the same time, all the characters they talk to, you can tell that these are people. These are real people who have their own agency and their own lives and all of those things. Good evening, Kristine, and good morning, afternoon, evening, night to everyone else. Good evening, Alex. I hope you are having a good day. It turns out we are streaming on the, what shall I say, illustrious occasion of the solstice, so I hope everyone is doing well. It shall only get darker from here the rest of the year, at least in the northern hemisphere. Not if you are on the south side of this glorious blue planet, but I do find it an interesting occasion. It's so nice to live. I do, having grown up with it, I'm used to it, where the days change length so much. It's always very measurable, both in winter and in summer. Like this time of year, it doesn't really get dark at all. You can walk around at 2 a.m. in the morning and you'll still be able to see the hand in front of you, because the sun is not that far away from the horizon. Tara says, hello, blessed solstice. Hello, Tara, welcome. I hope you're having a good time. We are about to have an ad break, so we shall all remember to hydrate. I do love my thermocup. It's the first thermocup I've ever owned, and I love putting cold water in it in summer, or cold tea, because it stays cold. It's fantastic. Magic. Hello everyone, says God's Childis Brown. I'm late, but I'm so glad to be here with you all. Good morning to you, Kristine. Good morning. It is a good time to be hanging out and crafting things and having a relaxing time on the internet, carving a little space for ourselves, even as the world is chaos all around us. Good morning. Time zones are so fascinating to me. I know, it doesn't stop being fascinating to me, much as I try to remind myself that in Australia and New Zealand they are having their cold winter season, and people are just waking up, or not quite waking up, but it's morning in large parts of the US, it's midnight or evening in large parts of Asia and Japan, and it's evening getting on in the day here in Europe, and trying to wrap my head around it. I try to, and yet at the same time find it really, really interesting. I hadn't realized that. Happy summer solstice? Yes, happy summer solstice, Alex. I also forgot, because in Norway we have a celebration that is related to the solstice on the 23rd. So I always forget that the actual solstice itself is a few days before, because I always associate it with this other day where we burn big log fires, unless there's a forest fire risk. But usually you burn them by the beach for that reason. Like huge big fires, old pagan rituals, of course, co-opted and appropriated by modern Christians when they came and forced their religion upon us with but there's still a lot of older pagan stuff in the rituals and the ceremonies that are celebrated, which has always been very fascinating to me, how much old stuff still sticks around and is co-opted and changed, and how much of culture and religion is very variable and very changeable and very interesting, and in many cool ways. But yes, burning a fire to keep safe during the hot and dangerous times of the solstice of summer. It's very interesting. Okay, I filled another box, says Lynn, so good job. That is very well done. It's always so exhausting when you're moving, that it's just box after box after box after box, and you fill one and there are still many to go. So good job doing. There is progress being made, and that is the most important thing, isn't there? Good evening, madam. Can I help you? Hi. Cat Boss says, I miss seasons, as in seasons as I know them. There's not much here, and sometimes I really have to dig deep to remember what month is. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I have never really lived in a place like tropical rainforest where you don't really have seasons. I hear about it on documentaries, spoken to me by David Attenborough and talked to me about with people in the community, and yet I cannot really envision it. It's something I have never experienced, so that is very interesting. But I hope you are still taking care, and I assume you still celebrate various parts of the year and find ways and reasons to celebrate, because that's what we all often do as humans, isn't it? We are finding reasons to celebrate different things and come together and share food and companionship and what have you. It's evening in Europe and I just ate a very late breakfast in the US. It's wild. Yeah, I know. Like, my day is winding to an end. I've already had a work day and I've had my dinner and I'm relaxing, chatting to you all, and some of you are just getting your day started or staying up very, very late. Looking at you now, San, who is often joining us on these at a very late hour in Japan. Hope you are having a good time and taking care of yourself, getting good rest. Alex says, incidentally, I found out why my audio wasn't working 2 streams ago. It was because my play speed was on 105 times, and because it was live every time I was caught up, it skipped a beat. Oh, that sounds frustrating. That sounds like it would be really frustrating to listen to. I'm glad you managed to figure out what was wrong. That can be very challenging. And it says we're moving tomorrow, finishing up packing. Oh wow, already tomorrow? Then it's no rest for anyone, is there? We have to get that last stuff done. So I hope you will wish to manage to get that done. You stay safe and get it done and get to a new place that is going to be nice for you. Yeah. I also like to listen to, if I'm trying to learn something and they're talking a bit fast, I might speed up to 1.25 and it'll be faster and I'll pay better attention. And then sometimes my spouse will read books on 2 times the speed. I think at 2.5, very fast. I will sometimes go to hug them or have lunch with them and just hear their earbuds just going at a rapid pace at the speed that I cannot focus on. And of course, then when you talk to someone, they talk a lot slower, and then you have to change your expectations in a different way if you're super used to things always going really fast. But they're used to reading at 2.5 times normal speed, and that is what they're expecting when they're reading, which is why they go through books so fast. Always reading something when doing chores to make the chores less boring, chory, I suppose. I'm in Europe and spend most of my time hanging out with people from Australia and New Zealand, so both our time zones and seasons are opposite. Yeah, it's every time I think about, it's nice with summer and long days, I'm like, that is not the case for everyone. Some community members are having the longest nights of the year and the darkest and the coldest times of the year, and that more than the time zones I find really fascinating and hard to wrap my head around, because you're so steeped in the season you're living in, aren't you? Like, it's so insistently summer outside, so heavily warm and lush and green and all the crops are growing, and yet that is not the case for all over the world. That is not the case everywhere, and I have to remind myself and enjoy the seasons that I do have at the same time. It's super mind-boggling and fun and fascinating. Citrine says ADHD, speed racing, audio problems. Yeah, can relate. Do live with someone who lives like that, and the biggest problem spouse has is that they run out of books. They are reading so many niche things that are kind of what they want to read, but it's not exactly perfect. But then again, they're so all-consuming of books, so that they sort of have to read a lot of different things in order to get through or have stuff to read, because they read so fast and so vicariously and so much. Luckily, they have found D&D videos like Dimension 20 and Critical Role and these things on the YouTubes, which suddenly gives many more hours of entertainment, because they do have long shows and can keep entertainment for a long time. Lynn says the weirdest part is when one side starts daylight savings and the other side gets back to normal, so the time difference suddenly changes by 2 hours. Oh, interesting. I am not used to that. I am used to the US changing time zones 2 to 3 weeks. I think it's ahead of Europe or after. I think they're usually ahead, aren't they? But anyway, it's usually a 2 to 3 week difference before Europe does the same. So suddenly all the time zones change by 1 hour. I don't think I have experienced having it changed by 2 hours from what it usually is. But yeah, that time is always a bit of a twilight zone. I have a group of friends and we meet up every 2 weeks online to talk to each other and just chat and hang out. And it's always a toss-up whenever this happens, whenever the daylight savings time happens in the US. It hasn't happened in Europe yet. If people are actually going to manage to meet up at the same time, or if there's going to be 1 hour stagger because you're trying to inform everyone and people say they remember and yet they log on at the same time that they usually do, and chaos ensues. Every season, every autumn, every spring, this happens, and yeah. Same problems every time. Good evening from Sauna, Finland. Good evening, Owly Lady. Are you really watching the stream or listening to it from the sauna? Because it always occurred to me that it wouldn't be a very electronics-friendly space. I once remembered to take my glasses off before going into the sauna, and they did indeed get very, very hot. And my nose got very hot from the metal, and I had to find a way to take them off quickly with my towel, because metal does not like being near skin in saunas, or I guess it's the other way around. Skin does not enjoy being near metal in a sauna because it can get very warm. Oh, we are having a very snoozy croissant on my lap. I'm hoping she will manage to keep her backside on my lap, because a lot of the times when she falls asleep like this, she will start sliding ever so slowly off my lap and then be very offended, both if I grab her and pull her back because I interrupt her dream, and if she falls down, so no matter which it is, it's going to offend her. But right now she seems fairly stable. Owly Lady says, nope, just came back from the sauna. My phone wouldn't like the heat nor the humidity. Yeah, exactly. That would be what I would expect. Like, it wouldn't be a very technology-friendly room, which is a good thing, isn't it, as well? Because then you have to put it away and give your brain a bit of a break. I try to do that more and more. Leave my phone in a drawer or in a box, or not in the same room that I am in, and try to go for a walk without it. Or, well, I do bring it just in case of, something happening to me, so that I can call a spouse or someone if something, severe was to happen, or to someone else, just as an emergency thing. But just leaving it in the pocket, not taking it out, enjoying the walk, looking at nature, looking at the trees. I would used to go for a walk in the morning with my podcast to try to, learn new things, and it feels like you're using your time effectively, but at the same time, being able to take a walk in the quiet and letting your brain run off, a bit like meditation, but while you're doing things physically. I often talk about easy crafts, my Dum Dum projects, as sort of physical meditation, because your hands are doing a repetitive movement and your brain is sort of getting the liberty to wander off and go think about whatever it needs to think about, or not think about, or just taking a break. And I find the same with walks, that walking in silence without someone else's thoughts filling my brain with new things to learn can often help me solve a problem I've been having. A lot of the time, if I would be frustrated while writing my thesis or editing a video and I'm feeling really stuck, I can't find a solution to my problem, I'm trying really hard, I'm feeling like I'm knocking my head against the wall and just not getting anywhere. If I'm thinking clearly or being honest with myself, and I get up and I go for a walk, just a rapid walk, 10 minutes, maybe half an hour, and I don't think about anything, I don't bring a podcast, I will find that I will often land at the solution just by getting out and away from the desk and walking around and not even consciously thinking about it. And like suddenly the solution will just fall into my head by doing other things, and it amazes me every time how well it works. It's so astonishing, the power of stepping away and just move your body a little bit. I don't know about you, but that very often works for me, and it always astonishes me. Like, why can't you just think of this as I'm trying to solve the problem, brain? And at the same time, I do appreciate that giving my brain a bit of a break seems to be the magic bullet that solves the problem a lot of the time. Oh, that was the adjustment of the backside that pulls us away from the balance. Oh, that is a very tired face. Huh? I don't know if I can show you this. Let's see if I can turn my computer so you can actually see it. You're dusty, madam. Alex says, I thought that maybe there was a city or town called Sauna. Lynn agrees, or spell check at work. For Suomi, yes. Let's see. Let's do the bad camera for a moment. It is indeed a bad camera. It's getting dusty. I should probably do something about that. There we are. Speaking of breaks, you know, it's important to have a little kitty break as we are talking about things, isn't it? You are famous on the internet, baby. Did you know that's it? Huh? I do apologize if you hear the neighboring dog barking. Her owners have just arrived home and she's very excited, so they are very happy barks. Don't worry if you think they are distressed bark. They are a very excited dog having guests. Citrin says that I've heard that small amounts of exercise has disproportionately positive effects on ADHD brains. Yeah, we have experienced similar things in this household too, like fresh air and going for a walk. Just, it's incredible how well it works. It's truly... Wrong button. Oops. Truly amazing. Oui. Little Void, yes, she is my good little Void. She's very cute. And she has such a smiley face too, like she's one of those cats who just looks like she's smiling. She's super adorable. Oh, I just realized you have a cute little watch. Yes, I do. Let's see. Yeah, this one. It's one of those nurses' watches. Spouse was helping a friend of theirs clean out their friend's mother's apartment after they passed away this winter, and they brought a lot of stuff home because often these times just end up in the landfill, so I ended up with a lot of new clothes and crafting stuff, and surprisingly this little watch, and of course being a nurse's watch, it's the right way up for the nurse and not for other people. Oops, don't know if you can see that properly. And they gave it to me, and I've always really liked watches. I really enjoy, well, I like to know what time it is. I prefer knowing what time it is, and I've grown up in a house with clocks in the kitchen, in the living room, you know, in various parts of the house, and also wristwatches. I always had that when I was younger. I really enjoy clockwork. You know, the mechanics of it is super fun. Skeleton watches are super cool. I love them. But I don't really like wearing things on my wrists. I don't really like rings either, but I tolerate the wedding ring because it makes spouse happy. But personally, I would have preferred something like a wedding wristband or bracelet or something like that, because I am not a fan of rings. I don't know, I like to have my hands and arms clean for working or crafting, or if I'm filming they'll clatter on the surface of the table and make a lot of noise, and I don't like it. So I love watches, but I have been struggling to find a wristwatch I really like as I got older. And I have a necklace with a watch as well that I have as a little chain that is really cute, that I guess I can use again now that we figured out that I can use the microphone on my camera to talk to you, because previously I would wear a lav mic and then I couldn't have my necklace with the watch on it because it would be smack dab on top of the microphone and it would be super noisy for you guys and you would hear the clatter of the chain and everything. But this one, I think I really like it because, again, I can see what time it is. It's really easy to look at, and it's not in the way. I can work and do the dishes without fearing that it'll get wet and stop working or something like that. And yeah, I really enjoy it. It's maybe this is the clock format that I will go for, but I just like clocks. They are very clever little devices, and I thoroughly enjoy them. The Violet Maze says, I got a cat a few weeks ago, but he's very shy, so he still hasn't sat on my lap yet. But he will let me sit next to him to pet him. Petting him has surprisingly helped me with stress. Yes, cats are super good for that. They are such good little stress relievers. It's amazing how well they can help with that kind of stuff. Pets are amazing. They are so good. You know, when you treat them well, they just give you back in spades. They are amazing. Lynn says, I used to have a tiny one on a necklace as a chain, but I don't know what became of it. Oh no! Yeah, I have one too that I really enjoy. I just like watches. Citrine says, a sleeping cat is genuinely so calming, and purrs are the absolute best. The original ASMR, if you will. I couldn't agree more. Cats purring are such good therapy for the soul, just in general. Sometimes I'll get a good clip where you can hear Soot purring, and I will like extract it as an MP3 and put it in my little personal sound effects folder that is largely, you know, scissors snipping and cats purring and such wholesome things. It is very enjoyable. I feel the same with rings. My spouse and I got a wedding tattoo on our left ring fingers instead. I like those ideas. I like all those creative, different ways of expressing love. It's very, very sweet. It's very nice. Is this correct? We do one like so, like so, and then it should be 1, 2, 3. Pardon my thinking out loud. There we are. Oops. And another like this. All right. The purrs are wonderful. Yes, I think we can. That is one thing that I am very, very much an enjoyer of, is cat purrs. They are so calming and lovely, and yeah, just warming all around. Soot has very quiet purrs. She's very, very sweet. She doesn't purr very loudly, but she does purr a lot and long and lovingly, and she's a very sweet cat. It's hard to believe she came from a colony and was born outside, because she has taken to being a pet very well, and very food motivated and food enthusiastic and all good things and all fun things. And just a very sweet little girl. My orange boy kitty doesn't like to sit with me or on me, but he follows me around and cries when I'm not there. He's good to be in the same room with me. Or he's got to be in the same room with me or have eyes on me. He's so precious. They are so precious, aren't they? We had an older cat that we adopted as an older cat because we wanted to just test out that we were able to do keeping cats as pets and sort of doing it a bit of a trial, if you will, if it would interfere with our lives or if we would enjoy it a lot. Turns out we enjoy it a lot. They are such precious creatures. We found this sweet old lady who had been returned to the shelter, because her owner had to go to an elderly care facility and no one could take her, and I just felt so sorry for her. She was so sweet. But she also, I think she was trained, because old ladies are a bit fragile themselves, aren't they, to not lie on people's laps. So she would only lie on my lap if I was sitting in a chair and there wasn't room for her anywhere else. But if I was sitting in a couch, she would just lie against my thigh all the way, as close to me as she could get without being on my lap. Was her preferred position, and she would still want to be so close and, you know, share the warmth of the fur and the skin. And she was such a sweet baby. She was the most affectionate cat. And she too, she didn't want to be on your lap if she could avoid it, unless you were sitting in a chair. But she would be close to you all the time and just share the space like a lot of cats are wont to do. My family and I joke that if we get reincarnated, we would love to be house cats for how good their lives usually are. Yeah, I can understand that. When they're treated well, they're treating so well. And I do hope that attitudes towards cats are shifting, because at least in Norway, because people would pay for puppies, but when I was growing up, kitties would be free. That is changing now, though. I'm very glad to see that now people are starting to charge money for kittens as well, as a sort of, even if it's just to try to get rid of that feeling of, you know, cats as disposable mousers, that you just get another one for free if you lose the first one, like if they get lost on the road or something. And I do hope it's helping. I really wish people would value cats the same a lot of people value dogs, because they are so precious and so nice. Haley says, I can't believe I only now got a notification. Oh no. Working on an article about protoporphyrin 4. That sounds interesting, at the very least. But I'm sure it is different when you are knee-deep in working on the writing. I always found writing to be very difficult when you're doing that deep and very specific technical writing, and everything has to be just so, and the sentences, you know, have as much information in them as possible and still convey the information you want. It's an interesting writing challenge, very different from many other types of writing. My big void is also an ex-feral, ex-colony cat, and food-motivated, cuddly, and loving all the comforts of a pet cat. Now he's extra cuddly and purring after losing his friend. Oh no, yeah, that is sad. It's always difficult to know how pets will handle losing other pets in their household, but it's pretty clear that they grieve and that they understand more than we think they do, which I think is a good assumption to have anyway, that because you can see Soot thinking when she wants something, you know, if she knows she can't really have it, or if it's difficult. If you bring home new enrichment toys or something like that and it's a puzzle, Soot will usually solve it with violence and teeth, but she has to figure out how. How does she apply violence and teeth to whatever new contraption we bring home and fill with delicious food, because she is very clever. Too clever for her own good. Embla, our other cat, is not as clever, and I'm never quite sure if Embla is normal cat intelligence or a little bit of a dum-dum, but compared to Soot, she is not in the same league, because Soot she will get herself in trouble. She's the kind of cat who will get herself in trouble because she is too analytical and too persistent, especially. She will not give up. If she knows there's a snack in a box, she will break in. That's why snack boxes and stuff has to live in drawers and places that are somewhat at least difficult to break into, because Soot will break in if she finds out that she can. Lynn says, Haley, now I'm curious. Yes, all the writing encouragement. Owly Lady says, it's also funny how these cats recognize whom to ask for extra treats. Grandma was a very good choice. Double ham this morning. Yeah, they learn so much more than a lot of people think they can. Soot here was adopted during the pandemic, during the lockdown. Pandemic is still going on. And she is very scared of strangers and, the doorbell and knocking on the door, because that was not a thing that happened while she was growing up. That is the thing that happened later, and it's very scary with strangers because she grew up with just Spouse and me, largely with very few guests. So she is scared of visitors, but with the people that visit more often and that are calm and quiet, you can tell that she will come out so much faster than if it's a complete stranger, someone who's never been in the house before. It does not take her long to either recognize the voice or the footstep or whatever it is, maybe the smell, maybe all of them. I mean, the animals do have eyes and ears and noses, the same as we do, so it's not strange to assume that they would recognize people the same way we do, in a myriad of different ways, and come out so much faster when there are guests that she has met many times compared to guests that are completely new. Haley says, oh, it's a compound my company specializes in making. It's the final intermediate in the biosynthesis of heme, becomes hemoglobin, chlorophyll, and vitamin B12. Ooh, that is so cool. We do love the science. Aaron says, my buddy struggles to find the brain cell most of the time. There are zero thoughts behind his eyes. Yeah, so it is the exact opposite. She is too clever for her own good, and I mean that in every sense of that phrase, because sometimes she does get herself in trouble for being so tenacious and problem solving. We get elaboration, so it's considered a key pigment of life. It's pretty cool. That does sound really cool. Absolutely amazing that we find such links to different things. Alex says, Soot has street smarts? She does. She knows what to prioritize. A good nap and good food. It's the way to get a good life. Has her priorities in order. Clint says her cat is very much in the dum-dum category. Also incredibly clingy, but she's very nice. It helped with being more comfortable around them. Yeah. Spouse was also not used to cats when we got them. So starting with Enya, our old lady cat, was a very good start because she was a super well-behaved cat. Like, I don't know what old lady who had her before did to her, but... Sorry, so I need to readjust my knees. But she was super well-behaved, super polite, very, very nice cat. Very good cat to learn cat body language and, signaling from, because she was so patient. She wasn't aggressive at all. I mean, Sud isn't aggressive, but because she does have the history that she has, if she does give you a warning bite, it'll be with some force behind it. Whereas Embla grew up with all her siblings, and even when play biting, it's very much in play, so it's just barely a nibble. But Sud has actually learned from Embla now, with them playing together, and she's biting. Even the warning bites are a lot softer now, so she has learned, which is good. Combating that single kitten syndrome, because Enya was way too old when we got Sud as a kitten. And couldn't really play with her the way Sud needed it to, so you get some of those bad habits that you learn later are due to her being a lonely kitten. So next time we adopt more cats, it shall definitely be, unless there's a single kitten who needs a home and doesn't have siblings, but if there are sibling kits, we will definitely get two, so that they can be kitties together and have a good childhood. But single kitten syndrome is not something that I feel is very known about in Norway. It's not something that people are very aware of. Yeah, we're talking about you. And I was Um, I'm surprised I don't do more mistakes with this project, to be honest with you, because usually I do at least a whole row before I do other stuff, but this shall be... At least the intention is that it'll be for me and it won't be a gift, so I'll tell myself that and be accepting of whatever mistakes there might be that I don't notice. And we are about to have some more ads for a little bit of a break. Do remember to hydrate. My cat has the worst single cat syndrome and is way too smart for her own good. Yeah, sometimes it gets like that. The Violet May says, could you explain what single kitten syndrome is? Single kitten syndrome, as I understand it, is something that we learned about only after we had adopted Embla. And it's when you adopt, as the name suggests, a single kitten into a household, which means that they have no one to play with and no one to show them the amount of force when play biting and play fighting and, you know, clawing, that because if you're playing with your siblings and you bite too hard, your sibling is going to pull away and the play is going to stop and you're going to get a negative response. Whereas if it's a kitten who is alone, they're going to play with themselves or they're going to play with toys, maybe your hands. They're not going to get, because as a human, especially if you're a human who has other responsibilities like children or a job or work, or you're sick a lot and you have to, you can't play with them, because I mean, two kittens will play a lot during the day, throughout the day, much more than we can usually entertain them, even if we try to play with them regularly throughout the day. So they won't get the amount of stimuli and feedback that they need. And then they start, like Soot, they will bite disproportionately hard, even if it's just a warning bite, and they don't mean to hurt you, they just haven't learned to adjust sort of appropriately to what they want the effect to be. Like they just want it to be a warning bite, they don't want to hurt you, but they have never gotten that feedback. But so when you have two or more kittens together and they are play fighting and wrestling, they will let each other know that this is too hard, I will stop playing with you, and then they will reduce, so they will learn that if they want to keep playing, they need to adjust their biting. And I think there are a couple of other behaviors as well that can stem from the kitten being raised alone and not getting that feedback from the mother cat or the litter mates to, you know, show it that this behavior is okay, this behavior is not. And it can be challenging to, like Citrine is saying, it can be challenging to adapt them to a new pet, to them no longer being the single cat in the household and trying to adapt more pets into the household. Again, they are taken from their siblings probably a bit early in terms of development, because we want cute kitties, don't we? That is kind of what, which is why I'm happy that Norway has changed the rules for how early you can adopt a kitten. It used to be 12 weeks and they changed it, now it's up to 14. And things like that also help with letting the kitten have time to learn the behaviors that it should learn from its litter mates, from mother cat, and those kinds of things. So we're seeing more and more that kitties, much like humans and other animals, should probably spend more time with mother than we perhaps previously assumed, because we think cats are so independent and a lot of things are instinct. But no, a lot of things are learned and social and learned from mother cat or playing with your siblings and learning that certain behaviors will get you more play and certain behavior will not get you play. And yeah, so it's something that we're learning about, that there wasn't a lot of focus on, again, when people would just adopt a cat to have as a mouser in the barn or whatever, and they wouldn't really interact with it. And now that we are keeping more cats as pets and companions and taking really good care of them, we are paying more attention to them and learning more about how they actually work, which I think is really good, and hopefully good for us and good for the cat. And, you know, they are a lot more social than we have been led to believe. are not quite as solitary creatures as a lot of people say. Like, cats are super sweet and cuddly, and I hope that in a roundabout way sort of explains a little bit of why it is important and how it can impact a cat. I'm not an expert in it, but I've learned enough about it that next time we adopt cats, if we adopt more cats after these ones leave us, which shall hopefully be many, many, many years from now, we will adopt a pair of kittens unless there is a single kitten in a litter that is alone and you can't adopt another kitten with them so they can have playmates. But we shall see what life throws us at, because sometimes we don't know what will happen, and things just happen as they will, don't they? Sometimes this is just like with Enya. I just fell absolutely in love with Enya when I saw her on the rescue pages, and that, you know, I felt so bad for her that she had to be returned to the shelter she was adopted from as a kitten because her owner had to go to a care facility and no one could take her. My heart just broke for her, and we were able to adopt her at the time. Like, we were in a housing situation where we could have pets, and we were like, oh, we can actually have pets now, maybe we should. And so we did. Probably better to adopt later also, so people don't fixate on kitten cuteness and then lose interest when it grows into an adult or cat teenager. Yeah, exactly. Because those first 2 years can be quite challenging. I mean, Embla is there right now where she's still a very rambunctious teenager and, you know, running around, yelling at night, and then being quite chaotic and needing a lot of playtime and stimuli and joy and fun and doing weird things, testing boundaries, just like other children would. And yeah, kittens are cute, and there's a reason kittens are popular on the internet, but a lot of the time, like you say, that they are best spent with their mother and staying with their mother. So I absolutely support later laws, or like laws that tell you that you can't adopt kittens that are younger than a certain age, because we see that they do absolutely benefit from being with their litter mates and being with their mother and being taught the skills of catting from other cats who can show it to them in ways that we as humans can't, or don't have time to, or aren't able to communicate in ways that they can actually understand. So, lesson learned for next time. Still, our cats have come out remarkably well for us not having known that and having adopted, one cat at a time. But we can only... that's always the thing it comes back to, isn't it? That we don't know what we don't know, so we can only do our best with whatever we learn when we learn it. Smithy says, do you know anything about how those adoption laws came to be? I don't believe we have anything like that where I'm from, so I find it fascinating. I don't actually, I'm afraid to say. I only heard that they came to be, but I assume it is animal rights activists and people seeing these kind of behaviors saying that it is too early for a kitten to be adopted at 12 weeks. And we should let them live with their mother for longer, but I don't know the details more than, because it's only a year or two ago that they changed it. I wonder if Embla was, if we adopted Embla after the loss, but we adopted her at 6 months old anyway, so that was not really a problem in any case. But yeah, I can't give you any details about it, I'm afraid, but it's always interesting how these laws come about, isn't it? How certain people will fight for very specific things, and every little bit is a win for animal welfare or various things. Every step in the right direction is a step, is a good thing. So I'll be curious to see if things will change further in the coming years, or if this will be the standard for, you know, the next decades or whatever. She is so asleep. Yeah, okay, we have a little bit of tail flick because I'm bothering her by snuggling her, but that is kind of the risk you run when you are choosing to lie on the lap, madam, I'm sorry to say. I wonder if a quick... Wait, I'm not sure if I can find that information really fast. Yeah, from 1st of January 2023, they changed the rules from 12 weeks to 14 weeks. And old advice, like puppies used to live when they were 8 weeks old. That is so young. That is so young, my goodness. Five. What is five? Huh. It appears that this is something that came to Norway through international rules of change, because it seems like 5 might stand for Federation, well, this is French, so Fédération Internationale Féline, but the Federation of International Felines, and that they sort of were the ones to push onto other countries as well. So it's an organization for cats, an international one. That is really cool that they managed to change the laws. I assume then maybe also in France, which is really cool, and perhaps other countries as well. So I didn't know that this was a push from outside of Norway. That is really cool. And again, it comes from people who really know cats, presumably, and know what is best for the cats, and are able to, like Lynn pointed out as well, actually advocate for the best of the cat, and not just that the owners thinks kittens are very cute and want to spend as long as possible with cute little adorable kittens that they've adopted and welcomed into their home, but actually let the cat have what is actually best for the cat. Which is very good that we have rules like that as well. Absolutely great. Oh wow, that's cool. I may reach out to my legislators about that. Do it! Absolutely do it. I find it interesting that it seems that the website might be fifeweb.org. I haven't absolutely verified that, but that seems to be where it's from. So I'll just share that in the stream, in the chat. Or was I? Ooh. So they seem to be doing judges of, you know, race cats and stuff like that. And I've never been to those. We only ever had what we would call back alley blends, where you don't know where they come from, and they are largely adopted or through rescue centers, or in one case we adopted it from a neighbor who had cats who got kittens, and yeah. So Sud is just a random black cat of no particular race affiliation, but we love her very much for being very good at being cat. And so is Embla. At least in Finland, it's not a law that states the 14 weeks, but a strong recommendation by organizations which might possibly be used interpreting the laws about what is good cat keeping. Interesting. It does seem like, yeah, the wording that I'm reading is that in Norway a cat should, well, the Norwegian should is more like has to be than should, because should is not necessarily that it has to be, but yeah, the wording is quite strong, so I do think it is. Even if not all people are aware of it, but we all agree that good pet keeping and good cat keeping is a good thing, keeping our pets in good health and good care and trying to do best by them if we choose to adopt them. Are you taking care of my knitting? Making sure it doesn't run away. She's very good at protecting my very dangerous knit project. Wool is the best. I have heard that a lot of other people have this experience as well, that cats are very fond of wool. And Soot too, she really loves wool. I got some wool fleece to try to learn to spin a bit, and I gave her some of the pieces and she was playing for so long. I haven't seen her play that long in one, stretch of time, in one continuous stretch, since she was a kitten, and she was playing and playing and playing, and then she would jump up on the table where the bag with the rest of the wool was lying, and she would just bury herself, like her face, her head and everything, just get all the way into it with her whole face, and then she fell asleep. It was the cutest I have ever seen. She was adorable. Wool is a drug. So I'm hoping to do, a little cat bed from wool scraps, and then maybe we'll fill it with more wool for more cat-induced or cat drug-induced joy for our little feline friends. And I'm hoping they will take to it and actually sleep in it and not just attack it and eat it, because that would be inconvenient if you spent time making them a bed. But that could be a fun project in time. Not that my project list isn't already more than full enough, which I'm assuming a lot of you can relate to. Always more stuff you want to make than there are hours in the day or weeks or months or years, because goodness, the project list just keeps filling up, and how do you ever get to even half of the things on the list? We are about to have some ads again, which means that we are about to rehydrate and take care of ourselves. Still cold, even 2 hours into the live. I am very fond of this in summer. It's also not too big. I find that sometimes I would get a really big water bottle because I wanted to bring a lot of water with me for classes at university or whatever, and it would be just heavy and cumbersome to carry around. But this little thing, because you can always find water for a refill, is not too big along with the other things I need to bring with me when I go out and about, like my rather large drawstring bag of medication for when migraines happen, like we talked about earlier, and other things that need to be managed. Citron says, thankfully my cat doesn't seem to love wool like that, which means she stays away from my wool, which I'm grateful for. Yeah, so it will sometimes steal, if she finds especially small balls of yarn like this that are like toy-sized, she will sometimes find them and grab them and run around the house to find me while yowling to show me the prey that she caught for the family, for the household, for sustenance, for care, and show me what a great huntress she is. And she is adorable. I'm just gonna calmly take the wool and put it away because she's so adorable. We don't normally yell at them a whole lot unless they're on the kitchen counters or something like that where they really shouldn't be for hygiene reasons. But when she gets the wool, she's just so cute. How can you respond to that? It's just adorable. So that's one of the reasons I have to put wool inside cupboards and places where they are out of her inquisitive paws. Of course, now she's just sleeping and looking ever so innocent, but there have been many, many mornings where I wake up and walk down to the bathroom to get dressed or whatever and just find wool scraps or wool yarn or stuff lying about on the table or on the floor because I forgot to tidy it up the night before, or I thought it would be okay to leave my scrap basket around, and she proved that that night she wanted to explore all the wool and just wool scraps everywhere. It's adorable, and yeah, I don't think she will grow out of that one. And Sans says, would love to hear how you manage your project list, what makes the list and what doesn't, and how do you decide priorities? It's not my forte, so would love to hear what other people do. There's definitely not enough time for all. Now that I try to do, I mean, some projects I just do in the background, like this one. In my case, my project list is specifically things that I want to make into videos because they actually need more proper managing. So I have a Notion workspace and I have it separated into, so I have a category for ideas where I just throw everything I can think of into some different categories, like sewing or other crafts, or talking head like the science videos that I do, or other, which is like experimental, other kinds of things. And from ideas, the next in line is sort of, I call it just soon ? And then there is pre-production and filming and then editing and publishing, and then like done, like big star sign, it is done, and it gets thrown into a different bucket and gets sorted by year so that I can easily just click on the different tabs and see how many videos I actually published in a year and see how things are growing. But I largely work by what do I want to do? Is there anything in particular I need to make? Like, is it a gift for someone? Is it a particular, like, I didn't get to do any Pride projects this year, which I'm kind of sad about, but I have had some ideas for things we might make next year, which we know it will be a while to wait for that to happen, but at the same time, having it in my list makes it so that I can browse through next year and be like, ah, yes, that was the thing we wanted to make, so let's get to that. And but largely it's, I try to be somewhat, I mean, your instincts is like, I want to make summer things in summer when it's warm, and cozy autumn things in autumn when it's autumn. Had to step out for a bit. What did I miss? We are just talking project management and project planning and how we manage our eternal project lists of wanting to make all of the things all of the time. But I don't know, I will have a lot of ideas and I'll put them in my pile of ideas and I will sort of sift through that and look through it if there's anything particular that stands out to me. I try to do a variety of projects, both for my own entertainment and hopefully for yours. Like if I've just done a sewing project, maybe I'll do a talking, research project, or a knitting project, or something else, maybe a weaving project. I like to do different things, so I try not to do two of the exactly the same 2 times in a row. That is one thing that works for me at least, but yeah, a lot of the time my projects develop from, sometimes I get really inspired and I will buy the resources for something, like I want to knit some cardigans, but that will be, projects that maybe it will take years because those things take so long. We shall see if I manage to take a little bit shorter than that. And I will buy materials specifically for those. But a lot of the time with the projects that I get either really cheap, like in secondhand shops, or get gifted as old bed sheets from friends, or I don't know, I have a lot of fabric and yarn in my house already, so a lot of the projects are born from what materials I already have. Like I will look at it and go, oh, we could make this thing that I've been wanting to make. Or this shawl for this friend who made me the glorious Sonntag and I want to give her something in return. Or I don't know if that really answers your question, but I have really enjoyed using Notion just because I can separate. It has this convenient, I think it's called a list view, and I can sort of separate it out. I wish I could do a screenshot, but I don't know how to show that to you in a feasible manner. But I can separate it out, so my ideas, when I tag things as being an idea rather than being something that's in pre-production, it gets thrown into a different tab or a page, a bit like, you know, your tabs on your internet browser, so that I don't see it when I'm working with things in pre-production. But when I want to just have a look through ideas, if there's anything I wanted to pull into the soon ? Pile, I can do that. I can just re-tag it, and the good thing with that is that I can have the same document sort of and the entire way through the project. I don't have to create something new to put it into the next phase. I can just drag and drop it throughout, and I will have a checklist that I am continuously developing, where I'll have reminders to myself of things I need to plan or film or edit. There are a lot of different steps when you publish a video, you know, such as, you know, maybe you try to have a short for social media, maybe, and then you need to do the subtitles, you need to send it out early to the patrons, you need to, you know, all these little steps that add up, and it's very easy to forget one of them, like writing the newsletter, where I will have frequently forgotten to edit the title of the email, which is always very embarrassing. So I have a big, you know, caps checkbox of remember to change the title of the newsletter and that kind of thing to help me go through. But that is more how I manage my videos rather than my videos, I suppose, specifically, just because that is a lot of the projects that I do, except for these longer projects that I work with on lives that I don't film because they're my resting projects. A lot of the projects that I do have time to do get prioritized because I'm filming them. And if I want to get something done, I will usually have to film it, because that's what gets it high in the priority pile for me, is we are going to film this for a video, ergo, it needs to be finished, it needs to be done, it needs to be worked on. And a lot of the other projects end up taking a lot longer than intended, like I was knitting a cowl for someone, and what should be just an easy, you know, a little bit of a rib knit pattern, and then another rib knit, like just a straight tube basically that you could pull over your neck and then pull over your ears if you need to, and down again depending on the temperature, took almost 6 months because it wasn't being filmed and everything else kept getting pushed in front of it. There was always something more urgent that needed to be finished instead, and it kept getting, you know, to the bottom of the pile. So for me, if I really want to get something done, I need to film it for a project so I get to share it with you and make a video and enjoy that. So yeah, I don't know. Before I did YouTube, it would always be a priority because I do struggle with people pleasing. It would be much easier to get the motivation to start a project or to challenge myself with new techniques if I was making it for someone else, either as a gift or as a commission. I would find it dreadfully difficult to make anything for myself, which is something I still struggle with, which is why I'm telling myself that this shawl is supposed to be for me. That is the intention, and I will get scowled at by spouse if I change my mind once it's done because we needed a gift for someone, and I will just grab it from my pile and be like, they can have this that I spent inordinate amounts of time on, and they will scowl and, you know, reprimand me and tell me no, that you made it for yourself. And yeah, it can be a challenge. So I don't know if that is helpful in any way, shape or form. But I try to be somewhat seasonal because that is just fun. Like, yeah. It brings it's another way that seasons as well give shape to the year, to try to knit to the various seasons and occasions and what have you. I do find that interesting. But I have so much stuff now from various not lockdowns, but like dead stock and very closed down, like shops going out of business sales. I've been to a couple of those, like really heavy discounts, and I picked up quite a bit. So I have like a stack of fabrics here so I have more than enough fabrics. So I don't think I need to buy more materials for many years to come, unless there are things like spoil notions and things. And I do like to plan from the stock that I do have. Let's see, Citrine says, I have 2 lists for future projects. Things I have materials for and things I don't. So those are more hypothetical. I like that system. And then a chart list of steps for ongoing projects, such as jumper, front panels, etc. Yeah, I do like that. I'm getting better at making more detailed lists as I work too. Either for the things I'm doing or the things that I am planning to shoot for whatever movie or video I'm working on. Like my little shot list of different angles of different things will often include the different steps that I need to do, so we'll kind of do 2 things at once there. Recently I've been trying to focus on using yarn I already have, but making gifts can be exceptions, especially for baby knits. I know what you mean. Last autumn I got a couple of these nice warm yellows and reds, and I think there are some greens and browns there as well, possibly, because I wanted to do some autumn themed knits that I hope I will have time for this autumn, because I do have this white thin lamb's wool and a cone of black from a friend who gave me like a 1 kilo cone of black and 1 kilo cone of white lamb's wool. So I have a significant amount of this in black and white, but I didn't have any colors, so I got a few just skeins of different colors so that maybe we can do some color work, because I do love my lace, but sometimes it's fun with colors. So we talked about that last time, that in keeping with the theme of my channel, perhaps we should make some autumn mittens or something with black cats and autumn leaves or something like that. I have not designed them yet. I have not drawn any diagrams. I have not found any patterns, so it is very much still a hypothetical, but there are many things that I hope to do. So sometimes I will supplement the materials that I have with a couple of other things, but yeah. But I really like separating lists into what I already have materials for and what I would need to either buy supplemental or all the materials for. That is a really good way of organizing that. San says, I stand with your spouse on that. You deserve to enjoy the things you made for yourself, even though it's definitely wonderful to give people handmade gifts. Yeah, I know in theory it's just, you want to give someone something nice, and it can be challenging to remember that you were supposed to make it for yourself, but yeah. I do generally only give handmade gifts to other crafters, because they are the ones who really understand the time and the effort and the time it takes to make these things. That truly appreciate. It sounds backwards for people who don't craft that you give knitting to other knitters, but they are the ones who really understand the time and effort and devotion that is needed to finish the thing and make the big thing, and really appreciate it. See things this way: if you're not seasonal for yourself, you'll be seasonal for the South Hemisphere. Yeah, that is cool. Thanks for the tip about Notion. Sounds like you have a great system going. Let me show you what I mean, because I realized that maybe not everyone has heard of this page. Let's see, can I get it without... I assume you will have to log on to your own thing. Like so? Question mark? No, not with my page. Well, I assume it will just kick you to a front page. How do I just get a front page to Notion? Notion. Alright, I hope that if I share with you... Wait. No, wait. if we just copy this, will you actually be sent to just a front page? Let us see. So this is Notion. It started out as an app, and I really enjoy when I have project management tools and life management tools that they are both a browser app and a phone app, so that I can work on whichever one I want to work on and still have all my data. So that is the reason why I use Todoist for things that I need to remember. So if I have my live stream on Thursdays, I will put that in Todoist, because that is one thing that I check in the morning, and then that will remind me of the things that I need to do today. I also have things like taking my meds in the morning, because while I will usually remember, sometimes I will forget if I've taken them or not, because it's such a routine. So having the habit of ticking them off when I take them makes it 100% sure that I don't take it, that I don't do a double dose or I don't forget. So I use it for things like that. I also do it for meetings, or remembering to wash the kitty fountain, or things like that. Vet appointments, if I have specific things that needs to get done, or sometimes you just need that little bit of a boost. Like if you're having a little bit of a hard time getting started, I will put easy tasks on it that I want to, so that I get into the habit of getting started in the morning, so that I feel that progression, so that it gives me a boost to get started, because you get to tick that box, right? Like it ticks. And unlike handwritten checklists, which I do like, it does have the benefit of I can postpone things to the next day without having to rewrite the whole list. And yeah, the ability to put things, like use it like a calendar. I could just use my calendar, but I've gotten so used to using Todoist that it really helps for me to manage, to remember all the things that I need to remember in time for whatever. So if I'm visiting someone, I can write a note that visiting someone, parenthesis, remember to bring XYZ, and I find that really helpful. So those are the two things that I really use in addition to my calendar, is, Notion and Todoist. But any to-do app will work. They all work fairly similarly. It's just a matter of trusting them and using them, and using one or the other exclusively. So I use Notion for my project planning and Todoist for remembering all the things I need to remember. Let's see, Notion has some lovely and powerful database tools, which I find incredibly useful if requiring a bit of a learning curve. There are a lot of videos about it. Yes, I will agree that it has a bit of a learning curve. A lot of the more powerful features, like the list view that I talked about, I didn't learn about until I was talking to someone else. We were having a little workshop about project management with some other YouTubers, and someone brought up how they organized their Notion, and I was just blown away by the things that it could do. And I had been using it for a while already, and I had not realized half the things it could do. So it has a lot of features. It takes a while to learn it, but it can be very powerful once you have it. And I do enjoy the fact that I have it both on my computer if I'm working on my computer, and if I just need to check something real quick while I'm filming or something, then I have my phone and I can write down notes for the script, or I can check off that I did a thing, or I can check my shot list or something like that, or I find it useful. And in the beginning, again, because I really enjoy thinking on pen and paper, I started doing it on pen and paper, but I found that the checklist that I have for remembering all the different things to do, such as, not equalizing, but normalizing the audio, so that hopefully we manage to keep the audio levels somewhat within the same range, which is always a topic of debate, within YouTube, what audio decibel to normalize your audio to. But because I had so many things that I needed to do the same every time, it got tedious to write them out in my little workbook. So that's why I use a digital tool for that, because it became quicker to have a digital solution, so that my template, my checklist would just automatically copy into every new project that I do, and then if I edit it, it again will copy into every new project that I do. But But yeah, there is definitely a learning curve to Notion. It's quite big and quite powerful, but along with your basic calendar, I think that's about it. That is kind of what I use. But I'm not sure if that is necessary for crafting projects, but maybe if you have fun and you enjoy organizing stuff in such ways, then why not? I do know people who fill Notion with recipes and meal planning and other kinds of life management. A lot of people use it for studying or calendars or different things. I don't know if I should give the prerequisite. This is not an ad, this is just a thing that I use. I know that Notion does sponsor some people, but this is not the case. This is simply just a tool that I use. So Notion and Todoist and a good old calendar seem to do the trick, for me at least. I don't like having too many tools, because then I just get lost in the weeds and forget where I put things. Sometimes I wish that I would do more like themed projects, like large outfits and stuff like that with different pieces to it, like shirt waists and skirts and corsets and jackets. But a lot of the time I really like things that I will actually use and won't just be hung up in the closet and feel like it's, too pretty to be used for daily wear or stuff like that. So I'm leaning more and more away from costumes and sort of wealthy historical stuff, because I don't feel comfortable using it. I'm leaning more towards, very simple, unembellished garments. That is sort of what I reach for when I'm getting dressed. So that is more and more what I focus on making too, because I do want to use the things that I make. Seems a waste too. That is one of the reasons I started sewing my own clothes too. I was doing Viking reenactment and sewing Viking clothing to hang out with my friends and travel to markets and have fun and cook food over the open fire and sew and talk and have a good time and have fun. But largely it felt like, because I didn't have a lot of money, as students often do not, so when the money went to fabrics, I was still shopping very much charity shop and secondhand clothing, and it seemed such a shame that I would spend so much time and effort and money and resources sewing clothes for what would often be 2 weeks a year maybe of hanging out with friends and having fun. And it is a lot of fun. I have a lot of good friends that I still keep in touch with, but why not try to expand some of that magic of making your own clothing and making clothing that will last and that you feel comfortable in, and that that actually fits you and that is made to last, and that you know how to make, so that you also know how to repair it, and expand it to the rest of the year, the other 50 weeks of the year where you also need to get rest, and they also deserve to get clothes that you make and or repair or fix or give some love. And yeah, that is part of why I wanted to make not just historical or Viking stuff, but also, madam, you are holding my cable. Oh my god, look at this. Let's see if I can show you this without losing the angle. Whoop. Look at this. Madam, this is my project. You are asleep. You are snoozing and purring. And yet I'm shaming you in front of the whole internet. That is right, because you are too adorable. But anyway, Lynn says you could always make a matching set of things you'll actually wear, like a mini version of a capsule wardrobe just on a one outfit scale. I have wanted to do that. That is such a good point. I have actually a couple of projects in my in my Notion planning that is that, such like things such as skirt and cape and shirtwaist and other things. And the rain cape that I made last year, the reason it didn't have a hood was that I was supposed to make a matching witch's rain hat for it, and I never got around to doing it. It was so sad. But that is absolutely a good point. Or as you say, coordinated rather than matching. But yeah, that is absolutely a good point. And I've sort of... Life has been a bit crazy lately, I will admit, so I haven't had the time to really dive into those long-term projects. But that is a very good point, Lynn. I should get back to thinking about those projects, because I have some in mind. And again, I have the materials for them lying around. The plans are there in my lists. Perhaps we shall be getting back to things like that. Absolutely. Soot is helping, making sure it doesn't fall on the floor. And Erin says, nope, it's her project now. It most certainly is. But I do think that after I finish this knitting needle, which shan't be too long, we are starting to wrap up. Before that we will get a little ad break though, in about half a minute, but after that I think we shall wrap up for the evening, lovely as this has been and usually is every time. It is so nice to take a rest and hang out with you and take the time to actually work on some projects, which I often don't give myself enough time to do. Yes, this is a water bottle, madam. It's very important to inspect and sniff everything. Yes, I see you flicking your tail. Is there anything in particular you would like? There shall not be a live stream on Sunday, by the way. Because I'm traveling, so I shan't be home to do so, but also because I'm considering maybe we will just pare it back to one live stream a week, because it does seem like Thursdays work for me, and maybe I should take back some rest on the Sunday. So we shall try that and see how long. It might be interruptions during summer, because it tends to be a busy time where things usually happens. But I think we shall try for the next couple of weeks to do it on Thursdays and see how that works out. Occasional week doing other things notwithstanding. There we go. Oop. But we have made progress, which is always very nice. Much as it's a little bit slow when we get to the longer. Yeah, we are gonna wrap up. Thank you for the live, it was a very welcome respite. Well, I hope your move goes well. I wish you unbroken things and everything arriving safely at its destination and everything going well and the new place being nice and a nice place where you can rest and recuperate and have a good time. And Soot wishes you good travels as well and safe arrival. So I hope everyone else also has a very good rest of your day, rest of your week, rest of June, I guess. Is there gonna be room for one more before the end of the month? It is indeed, of course. Well, yeah, the 20th today, so it will be the 27th next week. That is quite true. Nao-san saying arigato, so thank you as well, Nao-san. Thank you for joining us. I hope you have a good time. I hope it isn't getting too hot and humid in Japan already. I understand it can be a very challenging time of year in Japan, especially if you're in the southern regions, but yeah. I have to go doing some random errands before it's too late. Thank you for the company. Yeah, thank you, Dora, for joining us. We are heading out for today, so I wish everyone a most excellent rest of the week, and I hope everyone has a good time and stays safe, and you are loved, and I will see you next time. Bye.